This is a preseason game, and I know it wasn't announced that Caitlin Clark wouldn't play until right before. This is a preseason game where Clark is not available, and yet you probably have 10,000 people here.
Washington believed they could bully Indiana without Caitlin Clark on the field, but they were completely mistaken. Instead, they wanted a comeback, with the player they had targeted serving as the spark that energized the whole Indiana roster.
But no doubt about it, the Indiana Fever have another star. All right? Just this quick, Sophie Cunningham, and I told you guys I had a feeling that she was going to really make her presence known.
Sophie scored 21 points, pulled down 8 rebounds, and took over in overtime. The Mystics unleashed a monster they couldn't control, and a new team identity was born. Watch this space as we uncover the moments that made all the difference. What happens when your franchise's face is forced to miss a game for the Indiana Fever? The team had to play the Washington Mystics without Caitlin Clark, who missed her first game in 5 years, including her college career at Iowa and her rookie WNBA season.
Just a little tightness. I'll go through all our warm-ups and everything, and then they'll decide if I'm good to go or not. It'll be the most decision.
Clark was experiencing what Coach Stephanie White called a slight soreness in her left leg, nothing serious. But with a demanding season ahead of them and 4 more games than the previous one, White wasn't taking any chances.
She's going to go through warm-ups, and then we'll see. We'll evaluate. I mean, look, the biggest thing is we got to think long-term. Like, we got to make sure that we're not putting Caitlin at risk for injury. We're not putting our team in a position, where we're thinking short-term and not long-term. It's a long season, 4 more games than last season. So we want to make sure that we're extra cautious and put her health and wellness first and foremost. And honestly, it's been one day at a time. You know, how she's reacted to treatment, how she's reacted to workouts. So positive progress is being made, but we can't be short-sighted.
The Mystics came out aggressive and physical from the first tip, their body language clearly indicating they sensed vulnerability. This is a wise move for the future, but it left the Fever extremely exposed in the moment the first quarter turned into an absolute nightmare for Indiana, falling behind almost immediately, getting completely dominated, and losing 24-13.
But we got over it. 15-point deficit. Coming back, clawing back, fighting back, pushing it into overtime.
As time passed, that weakness proved to be their undoing. Without Clark leading the attack, the Fever appeared to be as disoriented as a ship without a captain in a violent storm. They missed simple layups, including a wide-open fast break opportunity that harmlessly bounced off the backboard. Their offensive flow vanished, and all passes sailed into the stands, and their deficit continued to widen until it reached 15 points. Coach White's annoyance was evident on the sidelines as she shifted players in and out in an attempt to find an efficient combination, but nothing worked. She called timeouts that didn't seem to help, then crossed her arms again.
Stephanie White seemed frustrated. We were down 15. Stephanie White called the timeout, and she must have stuck her foot up her team's ass and said, you see this arena? You see all these fans that came to watch you guys? 12,461 people. They didn't come to watch you guys bullshit. They didn't come to watch you guys drag ass. Let's play some defense and let's get it together offensively.
The Mystic strategy was straightforward. Physically intimidate the Clarkless Fever players by setting up hard screens, contesting every shot with extra contact, and fighting through rebounds with elbows flying. They saw the Fever as a team that would give up easily when pressured, and they were in dire need of someone to step up without a star to rally around. Early in the second quarter, they looked to Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall for a spark, any indication that they would not be bullied. There were hints of improvement, but it wasn't enough. They needed something more to stoke the fire. The energy changed a little, the score tightened.
Down 15 in the first half. Why were we down 15? We cut it to within 3 at halftime, but why were we down 15 to begin? With Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall starting the game on the bench, this team came out very slow, very lethargic, very stuck in the mud, very dragging ass, didn't have energy to them, didn't have flow to them. Sophie and Lexi come in, and we're like, oh, injected life into this team, injected energy into this team. Their movements on offense alone helped get this game back within contention.
No one watching could have predicted how quickly things would change as the second quarter came to an end. What happened next wasn't just another play, it was a game-changing moment. 5 minutes into the first half, Mystics rookie Kiki Irefin grabbed Sophie Cunningham, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that she was straight up body slammed to the hardwood floor. This was the moment that changed everything. The Mystics had been playing with confidence, maybe a little too much, but this was the moment that changed everything.
It's a preseason game, and I know it wasn't announced that Caitlin Clark wouldn't play until right before. This is a preseason game where Clark is not available, and yet you probably have 10,000 people here.
This was a violent altercation that belonged in a WWE ring, not a WNBA court. Iran grabbed Cunningham with both hands and threw her down with startling force, causing the crowd to gasp. The court suddenly felt like a coliseum, with all eyes on the drama playing out. Players on both benches froze, and the referees immediately blew their whistles. However, what happened next completely changed the tone of the game. Cunningham leaped back to her feet and slammed into Iran's face, saying, "You don't do that." On the broadcast, Cunningham's voice was as clear as day as she spoke. The officials hurried in to separate the players after that one shout echoed the defiance of a player who refused to be pushed around. Before things got out of hand, they reviewed the play and determined that Iran had committed a flagrant 1 foul, which many onlookers believed should have resulted in a flagrant 2 and ejection. Oddly, the Mystics players were grinning after the play, believing they had intimidated Cunningham.
And that's Kiki Irefin, and I gotta tell you, here we go with the smiling like you've done. I don't get it. This is the worst part of the WNBA. It is. A ton of...
However, they persisted in pursuing her, and a few minutes later, Brittany Sykes gave Cunningham another needless shove that sent him tumbling to the ground once more. This was a pattern where the Mystics had obviously determined that Cunningham was their target, and that's when something amazing occurred that demonstrates just how different this year's Fever team is from last year's. Bonner addressed Sykes right after, and other Fever players hurried over as well. The message was very clear. If you mess with one Fever player, you mess with them all.
Another one right here. This was Brittany Sykes, and DeWanna Bonner got involved in this one. She did. Little standing on business. I mean, it's wild.
As the crowd grew louder and rallied behind their team, the Fever players' body language changed from defeated shoulders slumping heads down to excited with chest pushed out. They also spoke more, slapped hands, and assumed defensive stances. Ultimately, the Mystics targeted the wrong guy and started fighting. Cunningham developed her career on toughness after earning her black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 6. Some have even said that because to her combative style, she is rarely innocent in these situations.
Oh, earned a black belt in Taekwondo at 6 years old. You can earn a black belt at 6 years old? I mean, fair enough. Fair enough, but yeah, Sophie Cunningham is... I would say Sophie Cunningham is not something you'll mess with. Everyone messes with Sophie Cunningham. The amount of times, like, there are like 5-minute long compilations of Sophie Cunningham starting fights. Like, do we not remember what Sophie Cunningham did last year?
Rather of shattering Cunningham's spirit, that egregious foul served as the impetus that changed the game and ignited her competitive fire, which spread across the team.
Wayside. Enter Sophie Cunningham. She was the lead scorer of the entire game for both teams, coming away with 21 points and 8 rebounds.
Yes, that's correct. The player Washington targeted ended up being the cause of the Mystics' defeat, as Sophie Cunningham demonstrated by scoring 21 points and guiding her side to win. Talk about a plan gone wrong.
Gotta say, it is so evident when Caitlin Clark is not on the court for the Indiana Fever. She is such a floor general. She is the X factor for the Indiana Fever. She leads the way when they don't have her.
Following that body slam, Cunningham's expression changed dramatically. Her rage turned into laser-like intensity, and her motions became deliberate. You could really see her thinking, okay, you want to play that way? Watch this. Cunningham's stat line of 21 points and 8 rebounds only partially reflects the situation. The Mystics' physical play only strengthened her resolve. When they bumped her, she bumped back and scored. when they attempted to get inside her head. She entered the zone. Each basket was a declaration of war against intimidation. She attacked from every angle possible, including mid-range jumpers, swing drives to the basket, three-pointers, and nothing but net.
Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull played a majority of this game for the Indiana Fever. And they played together a majority of the time they were in this game. Sophie Cunningham showed exactly why we brought her in here. We won that trade hands.
She made 7 of 8 free throw attempts and had an incredible 55% shooting efficiency from the field. This wasn't crazy, emotional basketball. Rather, it was calculated, high-percentage shooting at the most crucial moments, and the Mystics watched in shock as their intimidation target turned into their nightmare. Sophie's influence went beyond just scoring goals. She repeatedly dived on the floor, hustled for loose balls, and smashed the boards. Her zeal inspired the entire team, and every individual player benefited from it. They all played harder, moved more quickly, and communicated more effectively. Cunningham led the charge as the fourth quarter progressed, and the 15-point Mystics lead disappeared. The Washington players who had been grinning following that egregious foul were no longer grinning. The momentum had completely changed, and the Mystics were clearly nervous.
Lexi Hull gets the nice steal here, runs down the court, finds Sophie Cunningham, who pumps up.
Drawn on the drive. High arcing pass. It was too high. Hull pulls down the rebound. Here's Cunningham again. Cunningham coast to coast.
What a first half for Sophie Cunningham.
Oh, yeah. And this is as we've clawed back after being down 15. Sophie Cunningham, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal in 11 minutes off the bench in the first half.
Cunningham took charge in overtime, making clutch baskets when the team needed them most, and sinking crucial free throws to increase the lead. The Mystics players, who had attempted to intimidate her earlier, could only watch as she methodically destroyed their team. Coach White's compliments were telling. She elevates everyone's game from the moment she steps onto the court to the sidelines, and her communication is unquestionably an X factor.
No doubt about it, the Indiana Fever have another star. All right, just this quick, Sophie Cunningham, and I told you guys I had a feeling that she was going to really make her presence known. Talked about the 6th Woman of the Year. I don't know. I put it out there, and a lot of people came back and was like, you know, she may end up starting road.
Following the referee's evaluation of both incidences, Coach Stephanie White later called Cunningham a dog, the ultimate compliment in basketball, meaning she is a fighter with heart who won't back down. After the game, the energy had drastically changed, and something had fundamentally changed on the court. "I'm just a girl, but I only play WWE with my sister, so chill," Cunningham wrote on Instagram. The ideal reaction from someone who let her game speak for her.
Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is, she's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things. Like, she plays with such a toughness. You know, she's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. You know, she's definitely an expert.
The Mystics' intimidation techniques had utterly backfired. Rather than shattering Cunningham's spirit, they let loose something they couldn't control. The message was unmistakable: if you try to bully Sophie Cunningham, you will fail. Be ready to pay the price, because when the final buzzer sounded at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, we saw something much greater than a preseason triumph. This wasn't just another victory. It was the beginning of an entirely new Indiana Fever team, a team with heart, a team with identity, and a team that will never give up no matter who they play.
Yeah, this was the response. I'm just a girl, but I only play WWE with my sister, so chill. And obviously while posting a clip of that.
The entire story was told by the atmosphere of the arena. More than 12,000 supporters crowded Gainbridge Fieldhouse, cheering their team on like a unified army. When the game was over, the Washington Mystics' intimidating tactics backfired spectacularly, and they were unable to face the team they had failed to defeat. Cunningham specifically credited this 6th man with igniting their comeback when fans erupted following those egregious fouls. The players of the Fever then fed off that energy, and the transformation started with individual performances turning into a collective identity. With 4 steals and 13 vital points, Lexi Hull became a defensive catalyst that disrupted Washington's offense. Aaliyah Boston commanded the paint, Kelsey Mitchell found her scoring rhythm, and every player helped to establish this new identity.